Hi Leo, welcome to your mid-August 2018 Tarot update. It's Rena here. I'm using the Wild Unknown Tarot deck in case you're interested. I just decided to do it over again because I had to clear my throat. So yeah, happy birthday to those of you in this time frame. And how has the eclipse treated you in your sign, the solar eclipse? So I was just thinking about that this morning, about how emotions seem heightened and emotional responses. You had it in your first house of the self. So it may not have transpired on the 11th. As I record this, we're on the 14th. So it's kind of like this idea of what does it mean to go through a very powerful new moon when it's in your sign. How does that affect your life? Do you feel like you have new beginnings? Do you feel like you're on the edge of new beginnings? Or have you felt endings even? That's always a possibility. So very interesting. The heart of the matter is the Ace of Swords. So this card always suggests to me that somebody has gained clarity over some aspect of their life. And usually to me, it's like there was some kind of a haze. Maybe some event happened that really hit home, that something was true that maybe you were in denial about. And, you know, it's funny too because you see the lightning. And to me, that always is like that kind of eureka moment. But also sometimes it can be that energizing force. Actually, the other thing I was going to say about this is it reminds me of the Kundalini and the spine. And so that spiritual awakening. And so maybe some of you are having that ascension process really kick in for you, where you're seeing the connectivity in life and realizing how your attitude, your consciousness affects your outcome. And the swords are thoughts, but thoughts we could call part of our consciousness. You can determine the quality of your consciousness by the quality of your thoughts. So for people who have a tendency to be very negative, they will find that their consciousness is based on something of a lower vibration because they're living in fear, they're always angry, things like that, you know. So when I think the late Wayne Dyer had a book called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. It sounds simplistic, it sounds easier said than done, but I do believe that that's possible, and I do believe that is exactly what is needed. In the past position, we have the Hangman. I'm always wondering, is this in the right position? This is great, isn't it? Having a bat represent the Hangman. It's perfect. But that card really connects to the idea of surrender. And maybe that is how you got to where you are. Let's take an example of somebody who finally came to terms with their spouse cheating. Maybe, you know, or even like a drinking problem. I have a card too that can point to addiction, perhaps. And the thing is, like, let me use that as an example because I can really make a good case for it. Let's say you finally, it's dawning on you that your partner, your spouse, has a drinking problem. And maybe you're in denial over it before. Maybe you just it didn't strike you as a problem. The Hangman goes along with this idea in the book Codependent No More by Melody Beattie, where she talks about surrender. That is part of the way to heal yourself from codependency. You stop trying to control others and the situation. If you went to Al-Anon, they'd probably say a similar thing. But the point is that you're no longer being held hostage by somebody else's problem. And we could say other things. I mean, it could be a partner's mood swings that are just maybe even chemical imbalance, or maybe they just haven't dealt with their problems properly. Who knows? Or just other areas of life. Maybe it's a situation at work where you've been trying so hard to, you know, get in good with the boss, and that person simply is incapable of seeing you in a good light because they play favorites. People who play favorites, they always have to create that person that is like the one that they compare others to. That is not, to me, a healthy way to live life. But what can you do about it? You can quit your job, but you can't change another person. So surrender means that you let go of any expectations over the outcome of a situation. Maybe it's a parent that you have tried so hard to get to accept you. And now you see them as a narcissist, or just somebody who has always, you know, sided with another sibling, preferential treatment, whatever. I mean, it runs the gamut. And maybe in the past you tried to compete, you tried to be okay, and now you realize it's a hopeless cause. And that doesn't mean that you have to be hopeless, but that particular situation might be not even worth your time. Well, actually, I think any time that you're trying to get somebody else to approve of you or appreciate you, that is already, you've already lost the battle, because it's, what good does it do? You have to, the only time when it really feels good is when you're not trying so hard, when somebody appreciates you just because. You know, at least that's what I think. And so, but let's go back to that focal point, the Ace of Swords. That's a card of victory. So even though I'm describing things that might be challenging, don't think that that is a sign that something is wrong. Uh-oh, I gotta change my battery pack. I hope it doesn't go out before I bring this cord over, because I didn't want to start over again. Okay, let's see. There we go. Now we're back in business. So, yeah. Now, the current state that we have here. Oh, wow. This is the Seven of Cups. Why does it look like the Eight of Cups? Okay. This is the Seven of Cups in reverse. I always have to be careful because sometimes it looks different than when I see it. So I think that the Seven of Cups in reverse is kind of like this Ace of Swords, actually. The Seven of Cups in the upright position can be confusion, addiction, and things like that. And when you have it in the reversed position, it's like the smoke is clearing. The fog is clearing. It makes things much easier. Remember, we're talking about cups, so we're also talking about having clear emotions. Sometimes when people have mixed emotions, they feel twinges of guilt over something, maybe leaving someone. Twinges of guilt. Apprehension, you know, fear. If you're leaving a job or thinking about leaving, can even just induce fear. But the truth is that sometimes I've noticed this myself, when it's really can be very clear cut at some point, and you really realize that you're making the right decision. That always feels so good, because usually you may be on the fence where you're like, oh, you know, you feel torn. Or at least I know that I have when I'm debating an important decision. But then sometimes it's just, you don't even have any doubts anymore, because you know there's no other way. And that's when it's the easiest time to take that inspired action. because Leo is a fixed sign, you may be the kind of person who feels a sense of loyalty or just wanting continuity, and that makes it hard to change. I wonder with these cards, I have a feeling that this has something to do with the effect of the eclipse, where perhaps you are feeling this sense of, I don't know, resolution to some aspect of your life, and you're just ready for a new beginning. The advice is the Six of Pentacles, and this is a card of, it's funny, it's like money growing on trees or plants. But the Six of Pentacles, in a practical sense, because pentacles relate to earth issues, can be about getting what you're worth. So if you have, let's say the Ace of Swords is about you discovering that a coworker who's doing the same job you're doing is making more money. And maybe they have been at the job the same amount of time, and there's no real excuse for them to be making more money other than they are being favored, what have you. That is an eye-opening experience that the Ace of Swords could be suggesting. And maybe it's time to ask for what you want. And then you have that case to be made. Well, and ask for the same amount as that person. And maybe you'll get it. Ask and ye shall receive. But on the other hand, if this is a romantic relationship, I would say it's about assessing cost-benefit ratio. How much of your energy, which money is too, but we're talking about energy, how much of that is going into the relationship, and how much is that person restoring in you? In other words, do they provide to you what you provide to them? Or do you feel drained by them? I'm sorry about all this noise. I mean, it's early enough in the morning. And I mean, I actually hear machines this early. So, since I'm almost done, I'm going to just continue. But, so that's really important, because it's not a business arrangement, and I don't want you to get that feeling from what I said. I'm not talking about it in terms of how much you paid for meals compared to them. I'm talking about it in terms of just how much you add to each other's lives. So the outcome, you could read this different ways. One will be that you will realize that your emotions are important and you will go by how you feel. This can be a card of dissatisfaction. Usually I pick another card in this case, but I'm not going to in this particular reading because it's an update and it's like for a shorter period of time. But realize those times, realize when you're not happy where you are, and that can help you make your next move. In terms of some people, this may be that you attract a relationship that is stable. The number 4 can connect to stability, foundation, and maybe it's also with a water sign person. With you, Scorpio is always going to be the first one I think of, but the other water signs are Cancer and Pisces. Okay there, Leo. Now it's really time to say goodbye, and I hope that you enjoyed this. And please click below for a private reading. Take care. Bye.